Welcome to my virtual campfire. I'm Crystal Kelly. It is times like these that our ancestors would have started telling stories around a campfire, searching for meaning in our existence. We all have our Corona stories to tell. Think of our phone as the warm glow of a virtual campfire. Each week, listen to stories from all over the world about how we, as humans, fit into the vibrations of Mother Nature and the universe. Collectively, let's co-create a future through conversation and storytelling and music. With love.
Okay, so I'm here talking to Marylee Burman, and we have a friend in common, Jamie Gimmel, and I have known Jamie for years, I think since I was like 20. We went backpacking in Europe together. We've had so many fun adventures, and over the years, Jamie's always telling me how cool you are and how much fun and all this stuff. So I started following your Instagram, and I was like, oh, Marylee is awesome. And so I thought it would be really fun to have you around my virtual campfire just to kind of hear about it's mostly your photography that just blows my mind. It's so beautiful. And I'm really into I'm going on a trek in a couple weeks to Mount Shasta, and I'm going with a shaman, and we are searching out high energy vortexes on the mountain. And so I just kind of wanted to ask you about your experience in the mountains and what draws you to nature, and just hear a little bit about Marylee's life.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words on the photography. It's been a beautiful outlet for me. And Jamie, she's the best. I was born in Hawaii, and when we first moved from Hawaii to Snoqualmie, Jamie and her brother Jeff were our next door neighbors. So they were the first people that I met in Washington, and she was older. So she and my sister were besties, and then me and her younger brother Jeff became besties. And that's honestly when I adopted my love for the outdoors and the mountains, was because we were in Snoqualmie, and I've always been a tomboy. So having a boy best friend was kind of my jam. And we would just go, he and I would go exploring. And as little kids, we just go get lost in the woods, John Muir style, and just go find new things and build little forts out of sticks. And so it's really cool to see things kind of come full circle through her, because she really is my connection to Washington and my roots that are grounded here. And to answer your question about the mountains, it's so cool you're going with a shaman. I am really into that type of stuff too. I did some holistic health in college, and we did a shaman to find our spirit animals and stuff. So really, really cool. But I do feel when I go into the mountains, it's it is the one place and the one feeling that I have where I am 100% where I am in that moment. Mm-hmm. Because when you're hiking, it's dangerous. So you're taking every single step. You're just focusing on your body with the earth and making sure that you're safe, and you're working on your breathing, and you're not thinking about looking at your phone or texting anyone or work. It's it's all about you and the connectedness to nature, which is a really powerful experience. And for me, with all of the chatter that's going on in my daily life between work and kids and this side hustle that I have, my mind is always on. And so being able to have that peace in nature and really forcing myself to disconnect is such an amazing experience. And aside from all the beautiful things that you see, it's just going there, and then the people that I meet when I do that, it's such a well-rounded, amazing way to try to deconnect. And the photos and the artifacts that you get from it are just a byproduct.
Yeah.
So,
it's true. It's I feel like when I'm in nature, I'm the most calm. That even how you're saying it's dangerous. I mean, even when I'm presented with these situations where I know a lot of my friends are you're crazy, I can't believe you're doing that, and mm-hmm. I know it's kind of insane a little bit, but it's exhilarating at the same time. And I feel like I just feel at peace with it, even though, I mean, I can remember one time, and this is so random, I don't know why this popped into my head, but I was in Bali, and we were going in between islands, and we hitched a ride on a fishing boat, and it was just this little like 2-guy vessel, and we were trying to get surf on this other island, and we hop onto this boat, like we don't really know if they're taking us to the right spot or not, you know, we're just kind of like hoping, and we hit the open ocean, you know, we get out from the bay and we hit the open ocean, and all of a sudden the waves are like so high above my head, it feels like a 2-story building. And then we're going back down the swell, and we're raising up, and you look down and it's like that much, you know, so there's these huge shifts in the swell. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I could totally just die. like it was the one time where I was like so afraid, but these fishermen were just, they didn't seem scared or any, you know, they were just like with the engine, and like I was like, you know, they're pretty calm, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna try to enjoy it. And I saw flying fish. That was
cool.
So I was like, you know what, if I never stretched my, you know, I wouldn't have seen flying fish. I actually didn't even think they existed until I saw it. So like I thought it was like a mythical thing, you know? So I think like the rewards far outweigh the challenges, and, you know, so for me, it seems exhilarating, and I just love adventures. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a National Geographic reporter.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
It's like, I just thought, oh, I want to wear like a cool hat. Like I wanted to be like a female Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I mean, that's like honestly one of the cooler, like what I want to be when I grow up kid stories. That's super cool. I know what you mean about the experience with the boat. You know, I did something similar when I was in the Philippines. So I, like, through my work at Google, I was flown out to Manila for a project that we were working on, and I just had to go to Palawan Islands. I was like, there's no way I'm going to take this flight and take this time away and not go out and see the Palawan Islands. And I had, I think, 3 days. And so because I was by myself and I had like all this camera equipment that's super expensive, I decided that I would try to find kind of like a resort, like an all-inclusive resort thing where I could just book all of my stuff through the resort and feel good about it. And so I did that, and it was super cool because I was the only person there. It was like the off season or something. And I'm like the only person staying in this entire resort. And so they were fully catering to me, and they booked me boat tours because Palawan is just a set of islands. So like in order to see everything, you need to go on these charters. And so they found me this like private charter. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm doing this like big bougie thing. And it's just this like rinky dink little boat. You know, I think it was maybe like a catamaran or like an outrigger style where it has the little boat things on the side with these 2 sketchy looking guys, you know, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm getting on this boat by myself with probably $10,000 worth of equipment, and I'm here now, so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think without taking those general leaps of faith, you don't get to experience those amazing things because like these guys ended up being so great, and they didn't speak a word of English, and somehow we understood each other.
Oh yeah.
And it was so sweet. And there's like one older guy and like one younger guy, and it is a third world country, so they could appear a certain way.
Uh-huh.
But they were the sweetest people ever, especially the older gentleman. Like when he would take me to the islands, I would get off the boat and kind of like walk around, fly my drone, like check stuff out. And he always kept a reasonable distance, but he followed me.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Sure. Yeah, it was really sweet. And then we went out for all 3 days. They took me out, and we went into town, and that was like super like kind of scary because I didn't speak any English, and it's like this hustle and bustle and these like stores where you're bartering. I didn't know I needed sunscreen, and so he like helped me like get the sunscreen, and like I trusted him with my money, and like it ended up being this like beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't taken like a leap of faith and like be able to like throw some trust in some people and like trust your intuition on things and just be able to like, I don't know. Sometimes I think there's so many horror stories and it makes people afraid to take those risks, but I'm much more willing to do that. Like the more I try, the more I'm just like, oh yeah, this was, I have my wits about me. So I think that that's a good thing. But yeah, it's like, you wouldn't have seen the flying fish. Like I wouldn't have been able to see these cool islands and the content I got from it was amazing. And
yeah, it's like,
great.
It's so cool because I know a lot of times I'll be explaining a story or something to my less adventurous friends that, kind of have that fear that you're talking about. And they always, I have all these nicknames. Like when I used to work in TV production, my nickname was Crazy K. so a lot of people I think have, these, I'm a little bit probably not normal, I guess. And so I remember one day I was explaining a story, and maybe it'll pop into my head what story it was, but I just remember my friend saying, "Oh, that's where I would have turned around." And then like I kept telling the story, and she's like, "Yeah, I already would have been back in the car." like she totally was like, "Did any of this freak you out that you were, I don't know, like, I wish I could remember what story it was, but I just remember her reaction to it. Like, she's like, "Yeah, I would never be in that situation."
Yeah.
So
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. I think yeah, totally. When I saw your pictures and kind of heard about you from Jamie, I was like, oh, I think I know why Jamie told me to friend you on Instagram, because we're kind of like soul sisters in a way. Like it's
That's cool. Yeah, I love Jamie. I can only imagine what she said. Oh. She's so funny. She'll text me randomly, and and she's family to me. Like I don't think of her at like she's a friend, but like she's family. I've known her since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And she just like, yeah, will text me, everything's always good. Doesn't matter how long we haven't spoke or whatever. Just,
yeah. Man,
she'll just send some random thing like, "Hey bitch, have you seen this?" And I'm like,
totally. Or a random meme or something. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
She's so fun to hang out with. She's probably crazier than both of us.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We went, when we were like 23, I think, a friend of mine, my roommate from college, was living in Barcelona. And so I didn't really have any friends that had like a pretty laid back work schedule. And so, except her. And so, even though she had a young daughter, she, had a lot of flexibility. And so I was like, "Hey, do you want to go to Europe? And like, Amy's living there. We can crash at her place and then just kind of go from there." So we had no plan. Like we just like took our backpacks, flew to Barcelona, and we ended up like, before Cinque Terre was like a place, like we had never even heard of it before. And I know it's a popular destination now, but we showed up on a Sunday in, I forget the name of the town, but one of the little Monterosa or whatever town it was. And there's no lodging there or anything. And it was like late Sunday evening. And we like got there and we were like, "Oh, like, what do? We don't even have a place to stay." And like, there weren't even people on the street because they all were like, it was Sunday and it's like church day. And like, you just stay with your family on that day. And so like, there was no incoming or outgoing train or anything. And we heard these church bells. And that town is like, it goes from like where the train is straight up, and so we could tell that the sound was coming from like the very top. And so we're like, "You know what? Let's just walk up to the church." Like that was our idea. That was our plan. And we walked up to the church, and the bells had stopped ringing by this time. And there was like this one lady that just walked out of the church, and she like saw us, obviously knew we were not from there. It's such a small town, like everyone knows each other. And she barely spoke English, but she figured out that we needed a place to stay. And so she took us to this alley, like little tiny cobblestone street, and knocked on this lady's door and like kind of like presented us. And the lady spoke English really well, and she's like, oh, I have an extra room, you can stay with me, and it'll be like $10 or something.
Oh my gosh, so
staying
cool.
there, and like in that little town, it was just really fun, and Jamie made it all so fun. We ended up on the cliff one night with these high school boys that thought they were really, really cool. They were gonna serenade us with their guitars, and so they took us out to this, like, it was literally on a cliff. Like, we were walking, sidestepping along this cliff, and we went around to the point, and we were sitting in a little cave. It was just like this little cave on the cliff, and they started singing us Beatles songs.
Cute.
And we just had such a great time. So I have so many fun stories with her.
That is so awesome. It's interesting to think about like the way that COVID is going to affect like these adventures in the future, because as you're telling me this story, I'm thinking, gosh, like now no one would let you do that. No one would just be like, come to my house and you can stay here. I mean, some people probably would still, but I think it's interesting to think about the shift that's going to happen when we start traveling.
It is. It's a major shift. I mean, how do you think it's going to affect? Because I know you travel all over the world as well. Have you? I think I noticed you've gone like locally traveling during this time, but like, where's your first place you're gonna go? Like, what do you have plans?
Yeah, I honestly, I booked a flight to Iceland just this morning.
Okay.
So I'm going to be in Iceland for 10 days from July 3rd to the 14th. And I'm going to go with my friend Parker Burkett. His name's Seth, but his Insta is Parker. He's amazing. And then my friend Jesse and his girlfriend Hannah. So we're going to do like a little adventure trip and then take the little hopper flight from Iceland to the Faroe Islands.
Uh-huh.
And that'll be my first trip pre-COVID. And I feel good because I'm vaccinated now fully. And Iceland, they were one of the first countries to lock down, and they were one of the first countries to also open up. And since it's so vast, it's easy to stay away from people. And I think we're planning on staying with ourselves anyways. Like, we're gonna rent a camper van and just kind of do our thing. And we've been in our own little quarantine bubble anyways, so it's not like. But it was an opportunity that I just couldn't miss, because it seemed like I have 4 friends that are down to do this. I'm taking the whole summer off. I don't have to work. It's on my birthday.
Oh.
And so I was just like, this morning I woke up, I was hesitating. And then this morning I just was like, I'm doing it. Woke right up, first thing I did. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I think it's because I got a marketing email from Iceland Air, and I was like, yeah, I need to do this. It was a sign.
It's a sign.
Yeah. And I was hesitating, but I think that I'm really looking forward to that, and it's giving me a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. I have gone to Hawaii twice. I went to Maui for Thanksgiving. My boyfriend's family is from there. And then I went to Oahu like about a month ago because that's where my family is from. So it was kind of fun to visit. I definitely had a lot of anxiety on that first flight, going to the airport, going to Maui, and like seeing people with like masks and like the face shields, and just, it was the first time that I had been around so many people. It was a little bit uncomfortable because you're just standing in line. There's no social distancing still in airplane line. People still pack like sardines, and they still all stand up in the freaking aisle 15 minutes before you even deplane, like all that kind of stuff. But, it put me at ease knowing that you have to be tested before you get on. You can't even get on the flight without having a negative test. And then they give you rapid testing when you're there, but it's a different experience. It was like, we were going to places that we would normally go in Maui, like the Wailea shopping mall. 20% of the stores are open, the rest is closed. And I think a lot of businesses are using this as an opportunity to go under construction or like remodel. And so it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
So I still think like getting out into the nature, like going to the beaches and all of that, that felt the same. I felt connected in that way. But I went through my motions, and like the similar to the flying fish and like the boat stories, like you just push through.
Yeah.
And you come to terms like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And then you're just like, I'm doing it. I'm here. I'm gonna embrace that feeling, and then I'm just gonna let it go and enjoy it because I'm already doing it.
I went to Joshua Tree with some friends. It's just a short flight from Seattle. So like, and I think, I wasn't concerned about flying at all. I don't know why, maybe I should be, but it didn't freak me out at all. And the thing that was strange for me is that when we were there, usually when we travel, I feel like I meet people and I get to connect and all this stuff. And it was like restaurants weren't really open. And then the ones that were open, it like, you're right. It was a different vibe. And it was a much more, I felt like that trip was more of like, just an internal trip for me, almost like just to have a change of scenery. I mean, we spent a lot of time in the desert, and that was in October that we did that. And it felt really good to just kind of get away. And it was also kind of nice to not connect with other random people, like it felt like a very kind of like personal trip, I guess. But other than that, I haven't really gone anywhere. I'm going to Mount Shasta in like 2 weeks, and I'll trek, and then I'm flying from there to Tulum. So that'll be the first like international trip.
Oh, that's gonna be so, so cool. Lucky.
Yeah, a friend of mine lives there, and she has a sound temple. She's a sound healer, and so we're going to we're gonna go, and it'll, like, her husband isn't gonna be there. He's gonna be gone, and it'll just be me and her and another woman that I don't know, but I'll meet her soon. She's a DJ. I think her name is DJ Megan Taylor on Instagram, but she's also a sound technician. So she's gonna record us doing a meditation album. Like, we're gonna record this meditation album, just
cool.
Us three together, no one else, and we're just gonna like zone out for 4 days.
That's gonna be great. I haven't been to Tulum, but I've been very interested in it, especially lately. I feel like it's been a bit of a safe place for people to go.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly curious about I hope I don't say this wrong, but they're called like cenotes.
The cenotes.
Cenotes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's one where you go in, and there's a little platform, and there's a little bridge that goes out to this circular platform with all these vines hanging down. Mm-hmm. And if you hit it right, the rays will come through the top. And
that's awesome.
It just seems a very spiritual place.
It is. So those cenotes were created when the meteor that hit the Earth that killed the dinosaurs, it hit in Tulum. And so when the meteor hit the Earth, all these like fragments of it that were like molten hot kind of like shot out from the meteor, and those fragments burned holes in the ground, and that's what the cenotes are. Yeah.
That's cooler.
Yeah, and the cenotes, they're all interconnected. So they're spotted all over that part of Mexico. I don't know what radius it is, but they're kind of all over. And apparently, they're in between them. They have channels, and they're connected. So the water flows through all of the cenotes, and there's like people that are really into scuba diving. You can go into some of these cenotes and actually dive into another one. It's like, I think you have to be pretty expert to do things like that, because it's pretty dangerous. But yeah. I know that people that are really into it, they go there to have that experience. But those cenotes are absolutely, definitely spiritual, and definitely out of this world. Like, yeah. They're really cool. And A lot of them smell like sulfur though.
Oh, weird. Yeah, that kind of
or
smell.
like a kind of a funny smell. To me, it smelled like sulfur. I don't know. I'm not really a scientist. So I don't know like exactly what they, you know, what is in them, but yeah, it was kind of a little strange. Like you jump in and then you're swimming around. You're like, oh, this smells weird.
Yeah, huh, funny. I never thought about that. Yeah, I've seen some cool pictures underwater too, where it's like you're in this little cave, like maybe like what you were saying, and then there's an opening in the rays, so it's like dark, and then if you get the lit up little goggle things.
Yep.
I've been really interested and keen on underwater photography. Probably just because of I like in the last year, the only places I've gone were Hawaii, so I was like really into like wanting to take more photos under the water.
Uh-huh.
But I think I need to learn how to dive so that I could like really like lean into that. But it'd be cool to go somewhere like Tulum or Bali and start learning some of that.
Yeah, so I have like a GoPro, like the GoPro like Hero 9 or whatever, and I'm gonna bring it with me when I'm down there. I don't have the photography skills that you have, but I like to play around with video, more video than photos, but I'm gonna there's a cenote on her property, and so I'm planning on jumping in with my GoPro and just seeing what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. I've been interested in video too, just like thinking about just getting little clips of everything.
Yeah.
And then thinking about like the transition. So like now when I'm doing my video stuff, I'll think about like maybe if it's pointing the camera flat and then bringing it up and then bringing it back down, so that when that transition, then you would do the same thing but into a different scene, or like taking the video, and then like clipping it to the side, and then the next one's coming in this way.
Yeah. No.
So it's been a good one.
I've been kind of into stuff like that too. Yesterday, I did a video shoot with, so my daughter, she's 18, and she is a video editor. And so she edits all my video, which is awesome to have an in-house editor now. I'm like just blown away that that's a skill she has, you know? And so she's also been shooting some video for me too. And I had this, this idea for this project that I'm working on. We're bringing clean water to the Hopi and Navajo tribes with the Clean Water Foundation. And so an artist friend of mine had painted a picture and dedicated it to our project. And so I was meeting him to hang it, and I thought, oh, let's get a video. And so we don't have it produced yet, but what we did is kind of similar to what you're talking about. Is they had me, they took video of me meditating. So I was just like sitting there. And then when I open my eyes, I look to the right and the artist pops up. And then I look to the left, and Leon, who's the CEO of the Clean Water Foundation, he pops up. And then in the video, we hang the piece of art together. And so it's kind of that same idea of just like images popping and changing. And I love that concept. Like it's totally my jam right now.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think that's like my next endeavor, like that I want to learn is video. So like maybe on this leave that I'm taking this summer, like that's where I'm going to lean into in terms of my creativity.
Yeah.
And when we go to Iceland, we're going to try to put something together for that. That's like maybe kind of a sizzle reel that could act as pitches for other clients, like, you know, to start getting on with like my goal eventually is to start getting in with tourism boards and like being able to like basically get paid to travel.
Yeah.
And you know, like I'll keep my job at Google. I love my job at Google. I've been there for 5 years, and like I have no plans to stop, but I still think like as I pursue this creative passion that kind of balances out my left and right brain.
Yeah.
Being able to just like go to places that I might go to anyways, but then have sponsorship to get like a free flight or a free hotel, or like, you know, be able to do like a cool little 90-second sizzle reel on a hotel, or like get the dinners and kind of have this mix of like the bougie lifestyle stuff, but then like the out and the adventure stuff. So learning a little bit more about video, I think will be a really great skill to have, is like, especially as a lot of these platforms are optimizing for short form video. So like TikTok and Reels and, you know, now there's like YouTube Shorts. So I'm kind of wanting to get in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it suits the audience and our attention span these days is, you know, we don't have a lot of time. I kind of don't even really always want to sit down and watch a documentary. Like I don't watch media like I worked in broadcast news and journalism, and I chose to get out of it for a reason. And ever since 2002, I have not watched the news. I don't watch mainstream media. I'll see a clip here or there, you know, just because you do, like you're in an airport or something and you'll see something. And I stay connected. I stay very connected, and I stay connected to the people I know all over the world, and have conversations with people a lot about what's going on in Russia right now, or what's going on in Indonesia or Peru, you know, like just all these different places that I trust the people that are there, and I know, you know, I've known them firsthand, so I can say, hey, what's life like for you there, you know, and what is the dialogue going on in your country right now. And so I stay connected, but I don't really absorb information the same way I think that like the average person does. And I think that's kind of a good thing when you like to create content, because then you get inspired by like the things you see, but you're also not, even if you're subconsciously following everything that you've seen, you're, you know, you stay creative. And that's kind of what I love about creating content, is just how, you know, so like tossing ideas around and collaborating with people is like, that's where I get my spark, you know? So I don't know. I don't even know why. I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised to find that attention spans, they were originally communicated as like 30-second, right? And then it went down to 15, and now they're saying 7.
Yeah.
It just in terms of like short form video. I don't know scientifically speaking how that correlates, but now they're saying the target amount of time is 7 seconds. And so it's an interesting challenge too, because they're like, what I'm hearing too is with short form video, you need to like quickly provide value to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and you have 7 seconds to get their attention. So if you're teaching something, or, you know, showing somebody your settings or whatever it is that you're doing, you have 7 seconds to do that. And I think it's really interesting to think about how to be concise.
Yeah.
And it's something that I work on in my communication at Google. And as I've done like a lot of like speech training and stuff, and less is always more. And I think it's the same with content too, like not over editing, you know, don't get too crazy with like your captions, or with video, just snap right in and just trim the fat. And it's so hard to do that. It's honestly probably harder to make a 7-second valuable video than it is to make a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to watch anything for 2 minutes.
It's so crazy, but it's true. I mean, even like, because you think about the scroll on the phone, and, you know, no one's going to like, you lose people in a second. Yeah. I mean, really, your first 3 seconds have got to be like, all right, I want to see this. I want to know what it's about. And then you can finish it off with the rest of your like 5 seconds or whatever. But I can't do math. That'd be 4 seconds, but.
That's funny. Yeah, I certainly haven't mastered it. I just have been listening and observing and testing and trying to see what works and what doesn't. But at the same time, you know, I don't want that to define my creativity, because it feels like boundaries. But it's an interesting thing to think about, like that balance between your creativity and what markets to people.
Yeah.
And I think that's challenging for a lot of artists.
It is. I like how you're what my my mentor, who's a Navajo wisdom keeper, she calls it whole brain thinking. And it sounds like you're that type of thinker. Like, I mean, you work in tech, but you connect with nature. You are creative, yet you're following logical, thought patterns, I guess. So it's really, I think when you have that balance, and that it opens up opportunities, because you have, like, obviously for you, technology, it sounds like, is like you embrace it. I know a lot of times I used to kind of fight it.
Yeah.
And I would think of it as a negative thing. And I've been now trying, since this is what the pandemic did to me, is, and why I actually have this virtual campfire, is because I'm trying to embrace technology, and I'm trying to, instead of thinking of it as this like fear-driven, like all these negative things I think about media, I'm like, wait, there's a flip side to this, because it's also very powerful, and it can really spread messages. And if those messages are rooted in compassion and kindness and love for the planet and ourselves, then this technology can actually be really, really powerful. And the ability for it to connect in this way, where we can have a conversation and be able to get to know people without actually being there. I mean, that it is a gift. Technology is a gift. And so I'm trying to embrace it and learn more about it and how people react to it. And so it's, so I've been really trying to embrace technology in this shift for me personally, but it's also hard because it moves really fast, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I mean, it is a good tool. It's also a behemoth. Mm-hmm. And it's rapidly changing, and it's time consuming. And I think I had somebody ask me one time, like, if Instagram didn't exist, would you still take photos? And my answer was like, well, yeah, of course. Because from my perspective, all I did was add a camera to what I was already doing. Mm-hmm. I already was like exploring with Jeff in the woods when I was little, and I was going on these hikes, and I was really close with my mom growing up, and she was a mountaineer. She hiked Mount Everest. She hiked Kilimanjaro for her 60th birthday. She would I'd call her at 8 a.m, and she'd be like coming down the trail off of like Mailbox Peak or something, like, oh, coming down, just so funny. And when she passed away, I that was my way of staying connected to her. And I had this was like super deep and personal, but like up until like she passed away from cancer, and when she was in hospice and we all knew that she was going to pass away, I had like this crazy series of dreams with her. And one of them was we were hiking, and like we were going up some trail, and it was like in the Pacific Northwest because it was like foggy and there was trees, but up the trail there was like all these crazy obstacles. Like there was a tree in the middle of the trail, or like just something in the way. And my mom was helping me over all of these obstacles, like on the trail. And it just really stuck with me. And she passed away the next morning. And I think it was like spiritually, I think it was like her way of like guiding me into like, how am I going to move forward without her? And like, how are we going to kind of stay connected? And, when she passed away, I took her ashes on a lot of these same hikes. And that was a big motivation for me. And, having the camera there, it was just a way of like documenting it and making it something creative outside of like my own like personal connection to these places. And so like, while technology is a bit of a gift, it's a very personal thing for me. And I think of like, a reel or a TikTok or like a post, like that's just a byproduct of what I'm already doing. And sometimes it flips, and I find myself thinking like, gosh, like I don't even want to take pictures anymore because they're not performing well on freaking Instagram, and I have to like slap myself. And I'm thinking, okay, Instagram is a tool that it does, like I'm so grateful for it. I've met some of my best friends that way, and I would never say that it wasn't valuable, because it is. But at the same time, it's built off of a technological platform that kind of waters down art to hit the masses. It's just trying to find something that everyone is going to like. And I'm more of like, I'd rather have either a negative reaction or a positive reaction than like a whatever reaction. Mm-hmm. And so I just try to like stick to myself and just do my thing and share my byproducts, but I'm just trying to do me.
Yeah. And I think there's another funny thing that Instagram has done that that I never would have expected, I guess. So my friend that lives in Tulum, there's all these places in Tulum that are like Insta famous, you know, like all, yeah. And they've created this like I had 3 teenagers with me the last time I was in Tulum because we had an exchange student from Denmark. So I was traveling with these 3 gorgeous girls that are, you know, like no one even knew that my husband and I were with them because they'd always be like walking in front of us. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, Charlie's Angels. And, you know, like giving them like these cat calls and stuff. And we're just sitting there like just laughing. And, but you know, they had these places, the teens did, that they wanted to go when we were there. And all of those places were the ones that they've seen on Instagram. And every one that they wanted to go to was kind of miserable because everybody else was at that same spot. You had to wait 20 minutes to get the shot you wanted. You know, it was just, and so, you know, I started telling the girls like, hey, let's not go to these places that everybody else is going to. Like, I want to go to Chichen Itza. I want to, you know, and I took them to the Sound Temple. Like, I took them to all these places that like weren't what they wanted to do. But right. I think they had a richer experience than just trying to follow the Instagram, you know, and have the same post that everybody else has. So, you know, so it's done something kind of weird to travel where, you know, I don't follow it as closely as the teenagers do. So, I never know. Like, I don't know. We were in Nashville one time and we drove around for an hour trying to find this one mural that they knew existed. And, you know, and then they're getting pictures and they're all cute pictures and it's fun. But at a certain point, I'm like, no, you guys, no Instagram, like we're not going to that place. Like I turn into the mean mom.
Yeah, I mean, but it's good to push, like, that's exactly it. So you go out of your way, you're in a foreign country, you're somewhere beautiful, and you spend half, if not a full day, waiting to get a photo that looks like you're the only person there. Mm-hmm. Where you could be going to so many other amazing places and having a real and rich experience, and probably, like, you know, get something cooler, like get a cooler photo. And I mean, that's why with a lot of my stuff, and people get mad, and it's definitely a controversial thing, but I don't really like to share locations unless it's something like the Snoqualmie Falls or whatever. And it makes me almost feel like hesitant to even share it because then someone's going to ask, and then I'm a jerk for putting it out there and not sharing with others where it is. And really the reason for that is that I can't guarantee that if I tell someone where a place is, that they have the strength and like the smarts to be able to find some of these off the radar locations. You know, some places we go, you need a 4x4 car and it's like really sketchy roads, or I can't guarantee that they know about leave no trace principles, that they're going to respect the trails and not go off trail and respect the wildlife. And so that's a tough one because it's like, you want to share it. It's like, I have this beautiful thing. I want to share it with the world, but at the same time, I don't want it to blow up. So I don't want to say where exactly it is. But some images I just keep to myself, and I have it on, you know, my background for my laptop.
Yeah.
Because Instagram in a lot of ways has blown up a lot of spots. And at the same time, in a really positive way, it's made a lot of people go outside. So
yeah.
You know, it's a tough one to try to strike that balance, but there's some experiences that are just for me, and there's some experience that I want to share with an audience. And I think you're exactly right in like wanting to guide the teenagers into like, okay, I know that this is what you see, but this is like the way that you could actually like enjoy and not go chasing after a shot when you could just be here in the moment. And that's just such a more meaningful experience. And I think they'll appreciate that later on.
Oh yeah, I know they already do. I mean, I've most of my life I usually would travel by myself or with like one other person. And when they were in middle school, and my oldest was in middle school and my youngest was 1, so there's 12 years between my oldest and my youngest. And I realized that like I've been to all these places and I do all these adventures, but I don't bring my family, and so I had this like and I think I was turning 40, and I was like, you know what, we're going to Peru.
Nice.
So our first like family vacation, I take them to Peru. And we had gone to, I had taken them places before, but never like other countries, and never what I consider to be an adventure. And so, the whole time I've got our 1-year-old on my back, and we're, going on what is a very pretty big adventure. I mean, some of these buses that we were going up this mountain were like 200-foot cliffs dropping off, and I'm like thinking, oh my God, I have all my babies with me. Like, yeah. What am I doing? Like usually when it's just me, I don't have that fear so much, because I feel like I'm only putting myself into danger. But then traveling with them, and all 5 of us, my husband too, and it was kind of freaky, and it definitely was memorable for them. we ended up having to run across. There were protests going on, and so in order to get to the next town that we were supposed to go and catch our train, they put all the people that were protesting had thrown boulders out into the road, and our taxi driver we travel light. I always travel light. We had everything on our back, and including I had my backpack on with Penny in my front. Like I switched her around, and even though she was 1, she's pretty big, but I was carrying her in front of me. And the taxi driver just took one of our hands, and we went through the line, and the people that were throwing rocks onto the road, they were like yelling, El Bebe, El Bebe, because they saw that I had a baby. And so they stopped, and the riot police made a blockade, and they were trying to get people to stop blocking the road, obviously. And they let us through, and we ran through the riot police. And as we were like running up the road, they threw tear gas on the rioters. And so, how tear gas is, depending on which way the wind blows, you could end up, in that line. Luckily, the wind was blowing the other way. But I remember looking behind me and seeing that they were about to shoot the tear gas. And I was like, you guys run, like run as fast as you can. And they're just like, oh my God, Mom. Like when we finally got to the train station, they were just like so spent, like, I had pushed them to their limits at that point, but I know they appreciate it. And, it's like, that's what, it's what you do if you have a mom who's an adventurer, and I decided to take them on adventures.
We just started getting into taking my kids. So I have a 7 and an almost 10-year-old, and they're finally at an age where I feel like I could take them on more things, because me, like I'm a single mom, so I feel like I'm outnumbered. And when my youngest is just a complete firecracker. She and Jamie actually have a really sweet bond. I didn't want to take her anywhere because she's such a little demon sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't trust her. She would like run off. And now they're finally at an age where I can take them, and I feel like they're pretty contained. And so this year I really wanted to take my son to Japan for his 10th birthday because he's very into Japanese culture and like his whole room is Japanese themed. It'll have to be next year probably, but I want to take them on all those crazy adventures too. My parents did that also, where my dad was really into like bone fishing. So we would go to these random places like Christmas Island or Belize or like weird spots in Mexico, or he wanted to go up into the depths of Alaska or like into Canada, like driving until you can't drive anymore. And then we take seaplanes to these weird little islands. And my sister and I were just both like, what are we doing? And we'd always be so mad about it. And then we'd get there and the experience was so awesome. Like those trips are more memorable to me than Disneyland.
Yeah. I know we took the kids to Japan, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And, we had to do Tokyo Disney because they really wanted to. And it was like, I was like, okay, if we do Tokyo Disney, then you have to do an adventure that I want to do. Nice. And so it ended up being just my middle daughter and I that the youngest and the oldest and my husband ended up staying in Kyoto. And we ended up going up to the mountains to Mount Koyasan, which is like it's a Buddhist temple. And we stayed, and it was, my middle daughter is very similar to what she's a firecracker. Like she is, she stretches my patience a lot, so just, yeah. So just traveling with her solo for a few days was really special. And we stayed, in the Buddhist temple, and they like roll out these like sleeping mats, which are not mats at all. They're like paper thin. And so we basically slept on the ground, and ate the food that the monks eat, which to her was disgusting. And, that was like, she spent the whole time hungry because there was only like monk food. And but then she powered through it. And I remember I really wanted to go on, there was a midnight ceremony tour that they had. And this cemetery was thousands and thousands of years old. There were like so many layers of bodies in it that, they don't even know how many people are buried there, So, and it's a spot of pilgrimage. So a lot of people even to this day bring their ashes of their loved ones. And we went to a fire ceremony where they burned ashes, and it was really neat. But I wanted to do the cemetery tour, but they did it at night. And Eloise was scared. Like she's usually like up for adventure, but it freaked her out, and I was like, just come with me, please, like do it. And she did it. And she talks about it to this day, that it was one of the most fun things that she's ever done. So,
cool. So she's doing the same thing of pushing herself out of those boundaries. Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yeah. Well, Marylee, I know you have like a tight time frame, so I just want to say thank you so much for chatting with me, and it's been really fun to hear. I can't wait to follow your Instagram more. And
yeah, it was so great to meet you. We'll have to go do something. It sounds like there's a lot of things that would be in common. Like my boyfriend's a yoga teacher, and he's like planning like yoga retreats and stuff. And like, I think with some of the wellness and healing, and like there might be some opportunities to do something fun, like a retreat or something in the future. It would be really cool.
I think that would be really awesome. I have this, with this meditation album that we're recording, it came out of a need because I was doing these live meditations on like Facebook Live or Instagram or whatever, and I always have like my Alexa going in the background, and they were blocking me because the meditation music is copyrighted. And so I was like, who knew, like it just sounds like sounds. How can they even tell that this is copyrighted? So it's out of a need. I love guiding meditations, and I love doing it. And so now I feel like I have a new tool, you know, like to, I'll have this, my own music, and I can really set the stage. So doing a wellness retreat, I would love it. I would love to lead a meditation, and yeah, it would be awesome.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. We'll definitely stay in touch, and I appreciate your time, and it was so awesome to get to know you better.
Yeah, same.
If you talk to you before me, tell her I said hi.
Okay, I will. I totally will. Cool. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to my virtual campfire. I'm humbled and grateful, and with heartfelt thanks, thank you for listening all the way to the end. I hope that it caused a vibration or a thought or sparked something inside of you to make a positive change.